how did all of this get started? Well, the reality of the matter is, starting at the age of 2, I started singing in the church and growing up, learning how to minister songs and tell a story and learning how to feel the essence of music, starting at the age of 2. Moving into the age of 8, I started singing with and traveling with Mamie Till Mobley and the Emmett Till players. And one of the things she absolutely made it necessary for me to do was to feel the pain of those who sang old Negro spirituals. And I had to put myself in their shoes to be able to execute the message behind the song. Now, mind you, I come from a long lineage of evangelists and psalmists and singers who literally preached in their song. So to come to the age of 8 and to have to embody what it is like to feel the pain of those who have gone through civil rights movement, those who went through slavery, injustice of all kinds, was just something that was a part of my journey, something that was a part of my life. It was a part of my makeup, but most importantly, it was a part of my training. However, something extremely pivotal took place at the age of 16. I remember singing in the worship team, and my pastor at the time, his name was Daryl Hallman, he literally took me, pulled me to the side, and he said, you know, I'm from Chicago. So living in Chicago, there is a lot of singers in this city. Chicago is known for having soulful music and being the very birthplace of gospel music. However, it is so pivotal to be able to stand out amongst the crowd of a lot of singers. And he began to ask me what question? One question. What makes you different than everyone else? And I really had to ponder at the age of 16 in a time where I'm literally singing songs that are given to me, ad-libbing exactly what's on the projects and albums. And I had to really think about what made me different outside of everyone else. And it became a hard question to answer. So what he made me do was read the book of Psalms. And I spent, I think, about a month studying, reading, digesting, and even talking with him about the book of Psalms. And I could not sing or anything during that time of study, although I was on the worship team. I could not do anything. I couldn't lead no songs. I couldn't do anything. And he told me, if you do this, if you trust me and do this, you will see the difference. After I finished my study of the book of Psalms, he called me up to sing in service one day. I remember it like it was almost yesterday, but I got a little gray areas in there somewhere. So he called me to sing. And I think the song at the time was "The Battle Is Not Yours, It's the Lord's." All right. That was just the song I'm supposed to sing before the preached word. So I get up there, grab the mic, and I start singing. I sing the song regularly. But by the time we get to the vamp and I start just singing whatever it is that the Lord would have for me to sing, all of a sudden this ad lib just flows out of my spirit, man, like a well. And I really begin to tap into the well that kind of just opened up so richly before me. And the church went up, people were crying, tears were flowing. And at the age of 16, I really began to tap into the ancient well of God that came from ministering through song. It shocked me because who knew that just studying scriptures was going to be able to birth something in you that many people can feast off of, that many lives could be changed. I had no idea. I had no idea. So after that, I went into training continuously. I was leading worship all the time, and I had to continue to pull from this well. And I remember specifically my pastor tells me, and it's still in my head to this day, you got to be that pink rose, or be willing to be that pink rose in the midst of a bouquet of red roses. And I mean, I had to stick out like a sore thumb sometimes too, but I had to be able to give the people something different than what they had experienced in times past. So here we are, some God years later, and we're ministering in worship leading, and we're doing what God has called us to do. And I'm thinking that praise and worship is just the box that the Lord would have for me to be in. And um, I find myself struggling because I'm going to ministry assignments and they're expecting me to do an A and B selection, but I feel like there is more in me that I'm supposed to give the people when I go out. However, I do my job, but I feel stifled, I feel stuck, and in some cases, I feel very disobedient to the Holy Spirit. So then the Lord began to speak to my heart about the psalmist mantle. Now, I think this was about the age of 22, 23. And the Lord begins to speak to me about the psalmist's grace and the responsibility and the mantle of it. And so prior to that time, I had been going around the city. People knew me as Raine. My project, very first project, several projects were, entitled by Raine. And that's just all I knew. But it left me in a box, right? And it kept me in a limited place. And it did not set the tone for the more that God wanted to distribute every time I ministered. So the Lord led me to put the name or the title psalmist before the name Raine. And I started going by the name of Psalmist Raine, and a lot of people kept asking, well, what's the difference? And I realized that even my ministry requests started changing because they wasn't telling me, I want you to sing one selection or I want you to sing an A or a B. They started saying, we're going to give you 10 minutes now to minister. So it went from them just telling me how many songs I could sing to give me a time frame to minister. And that began the journey of just this road with being a psalmist, stepping into that place as a psalmist. And I realized that there was so much more that the world or that the Lord wanted to impact the world with through the voice. The voice. Now, to be a psalmist, you got to know that a psalmist by title is a sacred and very consecrated voice that God uses to release his heart. So it doesn't matter where you are or what you are called to do. When he releases a melody or a song, it could be an announcement, it could be a declaration, it could be a warning, it could be a teaching, it could be something to encourage the hearts of God's people, or it could be something to just simply set them on the right trajectory, to open up their eyes that they may see where God is leading them in the next path. And I begin to realize, hey, there's something different in my song than in other voices. I can't just copy or rehearse what someone would have already recorded or archived, right? To be able to mimic that or echo that in the earth. There was something else that the Lord wanted to impart into his people. So I really begin to identify, okay, this is really what a psalmist is all about. So fast forward to 2017, I believe, we had just released our first project. No, 2016. 2016. We had just released our first project, Refresh Worship Live, one. And now actually it was my second project, but the first project with my team. And I remember we were going on this marketing campaign to kind of distribute the music into different places. And my music was presented before a music critic in the United Kingdom. So an interview was set up with him. He wanted to interview with me, but he wanted to interview me very simply to question the mantle, the assignment, and the grace on my life. So he was very cordial at first. It was a very nice conversation at first, and then the script was flipped on me in the middle of the interview, and the man literally asked me, "What makes you think you are a psalmist? We haven't seen psalmists since the era of King David." And I was shocked that he would ask me. I wasn't prepared for the question. However, I had to say what the grace was. To be a psalmist is to be one that carries the heart of God through music. And I had to be able to describe what that looked like and compare it to a King David. I just did not expect to be critiqued by a music critic who said, "You call yourself a psalmist. We haven't seen psalmists of this like until King David. But here you are bringing us something completely different, something completely transformational. And yet you call yourself a psalmist. You could be like anybody else." And it really triggered my heart in some way very unique. And I couldn't really, I guess I felt really bad. I felt bad afterwards because I was like, did I really exemplify it? Or am I living out what it truly means to be a psalmist? And then that took me on a journey like none other. It took me on a journey of pruning, a journey of being charged. It took me on a journey of being ignited, but also too seeing and connected with other people who felt trapped knowing that there was more in their song than what would have been recorded or what they would have practiced, knowing that God was giving them something so much greater and so much bigger that many people needed to hear, that it was the very lifeline of their life and their destiny. Yet many singers are trapped by what would have been charted out on a music sheet. Many people are trapped by what a producer or a creative would have already put in place and not necessarily tapping into the heart of God. And so we get to this point where now it is my responsibility to not just be a psalmist, but to also ignite this gift and this grace that have lied dormant for centuries. We are now tapping into the era where the voice is so pivotal right now, and how God is using music to transform lives and to release his message to the heart of people where otherwise it would turn a deaf ear to. God is really igniting something in the voices and in the lives of those who are willing to be the voice in the earth in this era. And it is now my job and my duty to ensure that you are awakened in this hour so that the world will hear the heart of God through you.